All right. Well, we are ready to begin. So today we're going to be talking about automated testing and test management, combining those two areas of testing to ensure that you have the best coverage possible. And to present today's speakers, first, we have myself. I'm Greg Hanson. I'm the Director of Sales Engineering here at SmartBear Software. I've been at SmartBear for about 6 years now, and I know quite a bit about test automation. So if you guys have any questions while we're going through this webinar, please feel free to type them in. And then I have my partner, Dr. Milan Verma. Are you there, Milan?
Indeed. Thank you very much, Greg. Hi, folks. So my name's Milan Verma. I've been consulting organizations, small and large, through their ITSM journeys, through their testing journeys, through transformations of ways of working in the cloud, a variety of different frameworks. We have, at this point, whilst I've been at Zephyr and also SmartBear, managed to work with companies of various sizes, but with a wide range of complexities that we've had to accomplish or even get over. So in today's webinar, my focus will be on automated testing, and my background is actually in automation. My PhD is in artificial intelligence, and so hopefully I can shed some light and share some wisdom around how best to automate and the things that I've seen being done in some of the large organizations and some of the small ones too, around using some of the automation frameworks and the CI frameworks too. They are very wide ranging. Some of them are very popular names, these automation frameworks, and others are in-house scripts. So we've certainly been able to tick off a lot of boxes and accomplish a lot of the tricky challenges. So hopefully I can help with that.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, jumping in, just a quick overview of our agenda. And just to let everyone know, a few housekeeping notes. We will be recording this session today, as well as sending that session out after. So if you are watching this, you want to share this with some of your coworkers, friends, family, anything, you are more than welcome to. And if you didn't reach us today, well, you're hearing this in the future. And thank you for joining us later. But to give a quick overview of what we're going to be doing, I'll give you guys a high-level overview of who SmartBear is and what we do. Then we're going to talk a little bit about test automation and the power that it brings into your testing journey. Once we figure out how great test automation is to assist us, we're going to talk about combining that with your test management platform to ensure that you get the highest level of insight into your testing practices. Then we'll be passing it off to my cohort here, and he will be showing you an in-tool demonstration of Zephyr and TestComplete, combining those two worlds of the test management and automation. And of course, we will have plenty of time for live Q&A at the end. You'll be able to ask questions of either of us. We will be monitoring the questions as we're going through the webinar, so please feel free to type those in as we're going. And with that, we will jump right in to the SmartBear overview. So SmartBear, we have been around for quite some time now. We were founded in 2009, and we have offices just about everywhere in the world, as well as customers on almost every continent. We do have some deals with penguins in Antarctica that we're working on, but it's taken a long time. Something is fishy about those guys. Am I right? That's right. We are also huge backers of open source initiatives. Well, while we do have products that are commercial here at SmartBear, we do have several high-level open source products, both Swagger and Soap UI, as well as efforts to really reach into the open source community. We want to embrace that because we know that people are no longer getting one single commercial tool for all of their IT efforts. It's going to be the right tool for the right job. And a lot of times that is open source. So we need to make sure that we are both backing that community, but also integrating with all of those open source tools out there that people are using. We have users everywhere. Like I said, about 6.5 million users, 20,000 plus customers. So we are that company that is going to help you ensure your quality across the whole software development lifecycle. And this is just a nice high-level overview of the product offerings that SmartBear has. And you can see we do really stretch the entire software development lifecycle from development through testing and operations for both front end and back end. And we have put together this little flow chart showing where all of our different products sit. Now, from the development side, we have our collaboration tools for traditional and API development to allow the developers, the testers, and the product team to really communicate as the code is being developed to help find those defects earlier in the process. Moving into the testing phase, we have test automation tools for developers, for people brand new to testing, sophisticated automation engineers, again, for both front end and APIs in the back end. And then all the way through into ops and monitoring, where we have our brand new Load Ninja tool for SaaS web application load testing, and Alert Site for monitoring all of your applications and web assets after they've been deployed, because nothing quite as satisfying as finding a defect before the customers do and fixing it before anyone knows that there's an issue. And then right along in the middle there, one of the important things is about half of the webinar that we're talking about today is test management, making sure that you have that clear insight into all of the development process and the entire platform. And so you can see we have our tools HIP Test and Zephyr, the recent acquisition here from SmartBear, where we're giving you full insight and integration into your testing practices, the manual testing efforts, any of your automation tools, so that you can have that one full insight. So with that, we'll jump right into test automation. Now, we have the iron triangle here. Some of you may be familiar with this, especially for project management, but there are always going to be trade-offs. You're either going to be spending more money to increase quality and save time, or you're going to increase quality and cost yourself more time. You have to find those trade-offs. But this is where test automation can really, really help you out, because there's so many different test automation tools out there, not just for traditional test automation, but automating all of your APIs, your front-end tests, automating a lot of your user experience testing. Now, we don't want to go all the way to the point of automating 100% of the tests like they did with Windows Vista, because I think we all know how that turned out. But we want to make sure that we are automating the right things in an intelligent way. We want to make sure that we are helping people out, save the time to increase the quality with as little cost as possible. Now, we have a poll question. I want to just gauge the audience out there, see what you guys are currently doing for UI test automation today. So feel free to start checking those in, and let's see. It's fairly even. We've got some no's, we've got some yeses, we've got experts, and just getting started. We're getting a really good response rate on this. This is actually this is really good. We just hit 60%. All right, everyone, come on, click in there. Let us know what you're doing. I am going to say that I am not currently doing any test automation, but I would consider myself an expert at it. Would you consider yourself an expert, Milan?
You would, absolutely.
There we go. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, and it looks like we just finished the poll, because yes, I am just getting started takes the lead. And it's really interesting, actually. So yes and no, but I'm looking to get started. It looks like people are really on the cusp. The vast majority of our respondents said that they are just on the cusp of either not doing it and getting started, or just starting. So that's pretty interesting. So ideally, we can help you guys out with that and help you figure out what you should do with your test automation, and how we can mix that in with your test management. So we'll move on to the next slide here. Now, this is the automation testing pyramid, or automated testing pyramid. Really what this is designed to do is to show you where you should be spending your efforts on automated testing, because ideally you're spending the vast amount of your time doing automation at the unit testing level, ensuring that your code, all the functions actually work, having the developers build those as they are creating their application. This is really important because that's the level where you can actually test the true functionality, whether it works, yes or no. And of course, if the developers are doing this testing and it's happening right as they're doing development, they're going to be able to find the defects and fix them in a much more rapid process. Then you move up into spending time on the API assets, because as we go further in the world, more and more of our functionality is powered by APIs. And you can really make drastic strides in full test coverage by creating healthy and robust API tests that will allow you to say, yeah, you know what? Our application is, for the most part, going to work. And that's when you get into the UI testing, because we know that our application's functionality works. We know that the API powering it is really going to work. Now we just need to make sure in those cases of, hey, how are different users going to experience our application? Are there going to be any hiccups, design layout flaws, workflow issues? We want to be able to have that UI at the top, making sure that we're, just putting the icing on the cake. And of course, all of this is done to support the manual testing efforts. All of our automation is designed to give the human tester as much flexibility and time as possible to do what we are great at, which is the intelligent part of testing. So the more robust framework you have with the pillars of unit testing underlying the API tests and finally UI tests, it will allow your manual testers ultimate flexibility to do that artistic work of testing that we all love. Now, that doesn't mean that test automation is incredibly easy, and as soon as you see that pyramid, you can just lay out all your test automation and you're good to go. There are challenges with test automation. And we actually had a survey. So this was from the Zephyr How the World Tests 2018 survey. And it's really interesting. You can see the little pie chart here. We have several different ideas that we can take from this. Now, if you look at the gray, black, and the blue one, I consider those all very, very similar. The biggest number of respondents said that they have the lack of personnel with skills for test automation. But then when you combine struggling to determine what to automate and lack of appropriate tool sets, those to me all really fall into the bucket of we don't have the knowledge necessary to really implement automation. We just don't know what to do. And that is a huge challenge. Everyone wants to automate. Everyone wants to save time. Everyone wants to release on a much more rapid development cycle, but they just don't know how to tackle that. And so some of the things that we generally recommend is really, really cut time out of your tester's day to allow them to develop automation skills, and not just generic automation skills, but skills with specific tools that are industry recognized, tools that are used out there, so that not only are they going to have to learn them by themselves, but they have communities from which they can learn together and gather information and ask questions. This is the common pitfall that we hear with people. Hey, we really want to do automation because we have tons of stuff that we have to do, but we just don't have any time to do it. We're so busy doing the tasks, we don't have time to do the automation. And that's where you have to make that sacrifice, where you have to look at everything and say, you know what, if we give everyone 5% of their time, 10% of their time, 20% of their time to learn automation and to invest in these skill sets, the amount of time savings that will give you in the future is just drastic and incredible. So I always liken this to the cart, the little comic that has the guys pushing the cart with the square wheels, and someone's trying to show them a round wheel, and they're saying, no, we're too busy to deal with something like that. Take time out of your day, develop these skills. Or hey, if you're a tester out there, do it on your own time in the evening. It is an investment in your career and an investment in your future. Learn some of those skills. Learn JavaScript, learn Selenium, go out and download some test automation tools and give them a try, because it's an investment in your future. Now, of course, there are tons of benefits that come with test automation. Now, test automation isn't the end-all be-all. You can't automate everything and say we're good to go. But what you can do with test automation is make sure that your application baseline health is fine, especially in a CI/CD process where you're doing builds every night. You want to come into work in the morning and know on your baseline, how was that last build? Is it ready to be tested? Should I even waste my time booting it up and taking a look at it? It also allows you to expand test coverage, because as we are only human, we can only do so much with an 8-hour workday or a 15-hour workday or even a 25-hour workday. There's only so much that we can actually do. And this allows us to expand our test coverage and hit those tests that maybe we just don't have time to do, but they're still really valuable. And ideally, of course, it always helps us detect bugs. That is ideally why we are doing all this, because we want to make sure that we are providing our users with a great user experience. And unfortunately, in today's day and age, people aren't going to tolerate any issues. They're not going to tolerate delays in their process. I mean, you watch people download an application, and if it doesn't work immediately, they move on to a different one. So we need to help create that best possible user experience to ensure that our users are going to like our software, use it, and really find the value in it. Now, this is from another survey. We did the state of testing survey last year from SmartBear, and this is, we can see that test automation is just always continuing to grow. You can see the differences between 2017 and 2018, where last year, 7% of people said, hey, we're not automating anything, and that has dropped. And the interesting part is that didn't go, that growth in automation didn't go into, oh, some of our tests are automated. That growth went into a majority of our tests are automated. So it's not that people are dipping their toes into automation and saying, excellent, you know what I did? We automated logging into our application. So when everyone gets to work, the application's already logged in and they can do all of their testing efforts. No, they really invested in full automation. And that's really great to see the continued improvements as we do these surveys year over year. And you can see some key takeaways here where people are growing in API testing and growing in performance testing. Now we have a quick introduction into test automation and test management. But before that, another poll. We like to see what people are currently doing for test management. Whether you're doing everything in Jira, you have a proprietary tool. We're still seeing a lot of people using spreadsheets and Word documents. So that is something that is still out there today. And we do have a few people even saying we don't do test management. And you know what? That's fine. That's okay, because there are always places that you can improve on, areas that you can find new efficiencies. Now, as we're going through this, it is not necessarily a shock to me that we have quite a few people doing test management in Jira today. That is not shocking in the least. But we do have still a number of people doing spreadsheets and Word documents. And as we go through our test management demo today, you guys will be able to see some of the time-saving benefits and insight that you'll be able to have by using one of these types of test management tools and migrating away from spreadsheets and documents into a tool set. Now, this is another survey result from our testing survey, the state of testing this year. And again, this mirrors up, the poll that you guys just took mirrors up with what we did. We had several thousand respondents to our survey, so it was a little bit of a larger data set than we have here today. But you can see that a third of people are still doing spreadsheets and Word documents instead of using a proprietary tool or an integration with Jira. So we want to make sure to help everyone get into a process where they're able to get that overall insight, get that traceability through their entire testing infrastructure. And here we have a little bit on the benefits of test automation. And you can see that for the test management tool, for all those different tools, there's standalone tools that are much more higher used, but then there's still a vast number of people that are using spreadsheets. And if you look at that, performance testing is way up there, where performance testing is predominantly doing those spreadsheet-only information. Now, I don't think we have a poll for it, but hey, you know what? If you guys are, if we have any people out there doing performance testing as their predominant tasks day to day, feel free to type that into the chat. I'd love to be able to see and ask you guys questions on what you guys are doing. So yeah, if we have any predominant performance testers out there, let us know. But yes, you can also see we've got a nice little splash graphic there. I feel like I'm in a comic book sometimes with these things, but people, I really feel like I should read it in a comic book voice. So you know what? I'm going to do that today. Those who invested in a test management tool automated more for every type of testing than those using spreadsheets only. I think that was worth it. I think that was worth it.
That was Greg.
Excellent. All right, we are nearing the end of my jabbering on before we get to the real interesting part of this, which is where Milan's going to be talking about the integration between TestComplete and Zephyr. But I wanted to do a quick overview of what TestComplete is. TestComplete's a test automation tool. I mean, that's about the quickest overview you can do. But TestComplete is really designed to allow anyone from people brand new to testing to people who've been doing development for years or test automation experts to build tests to automate for desktop, web, and mobile applications. We've recently began investing in using AI to assist with accessing information on your application, because as applications continue to evolve, it's going to be more and more important to leverage AI and machine learning to assist us with finding those objects on screen and interacting with the applications. But we've really designed the tool to allow people to very quickly and easily create automated tests, very sophisticated automated tests, without having to write script. However, if you do want to write script, we do support the most common scripting languages that people are using, like JavaScript, Python, and even VB script, since that's still kicking around. And we really try to leverage the power of reusability. So it's not just, hey, come and use TestComplete and build tests our way and then use our tests in our framework. No. Like I said earlier in the presentation, we really embrace open source, where if you're doing, unit testing, you got Selenium tests, you got open source SOAP UI tests, those can all be consumed and run inside of TestComplete so that you can have a real full effort against your tests. Because the one tool is not the right tool for everything. Sometimes it's a lot easier to write a quick Selenium script or write a function in Python, or, hey, instead of hitting an API, writing a web service call, I can just use SOAP UI to do that and combine them all inside TestComplete for one full overview. And moving on into Zephyr, I'll pass this on to Milan. I feel like I've been talking long enough here. So Milan, why don't you give us a quick overview of Zephyr?
Absolutely. Thanks, Greg. So Zephyr is a scalable test management solution. There are a couple of products within the Zephyr suite for test management. One is Zephyr for Jira. The other is Zephyr Enterprise. However, both of these provide scalable test environments via Zephyr Jira Data Center, and also via Zephyr Enterprise's scalable SOA and microservices-based architecture. Now, the solution, although is agile ready, it can also support other test methodologies as well. So if there is a need to move off of, in inverted commas, legacy test management solutions, that's possible too. So you can have projects operating in different ways. One, for instance, might be working in an agile or scaled agile fashion. The other might be perhaps using a traditional waterfall approach, and that's absolutely fine. The way that the data is laid out, for instance, within Zephyr Enterprise, can be highly configurable. So you can have project-oriented views. I know that was particularly important for Peter on the webinar, but also you can have product-oriented views or sprint-oriented views as well. So that's possible. Now, from a data security and vulnerability perspective, Zephyr has a very tight architecture, an architecture which is continuously tested and continuously bashed using APIs, virtual users, physical users, various different configurations as well, to ensure that from a load testing perspective and security and safety perspective, that the application holds up and can perform at scale. And from a visibility perspective, from a reporting perspective, there are quite a few approaches. There are the widgets within the dashboard. There are live charts that are clickable that you can drill down into and view the data points below that. There are traceability reports. There are custom reports as well. You can link up automation frameworks with Zephyr Enterprise as well, so that you can have a consolidated view of semi-automated, fully automated, and also manual testing in one place. And then finally, we have the final point of multi-Jira, multi-project support. So you can have more than one Jira instance, and it seems from the answers to the poll that you are heavy users of Jira, so at least most of you are. So you can have multiple instances of Jira connected and used simultaneously. And also you can have not only multiple projects set up within Zephyr Enterprise as well as Zephyr Jira, you can also report against all of these across the reports too. This is by leveraging the widgets available in the dashboards. So the next slide, if this works.
There we go.
There we go. Excellent. So from an automation perspective, there are a few approaches. Zephyr Enterprise is a live HTML5 environment connected with Jira, and it has a whole host of applications inside it. For instance, there is an AI engine that helps look at all of your requirements and testing data, and figure out whether you're going to be finishing your sprint on time, and what you can do if you're running short on time, for instance, adding additional users. It also uses a probabilistic model to ascertain whether a test case is likely to fail and flags it as being a predicted fail. That's one of the add-ons. There's also a DevOps add-on as well. And there's also an add-on which allows you to work with automation frameworks. Now, yes, you can use a full set of REST-based APIs, and since we use these APIs to develop the UI for Zephyr in the first place, you can look at the network traffic and see which APIs are being used. You can also look at our API documentation to observe through the reference which APIs and what the envelopes and parameters are. But from a Vortex perspective, you can trigger jobs directly from Zephyr Enterprise, so you can control your test executions. No need for you to move away. You can trigger, for instance, TestComplete suites directly from here, from Zephyr. You can also automatically create test cases that have been executed using a build automation solution or a CI engine, CI/CD framework like Jenkins, Bamboo, or TeamCity. The test cases, the scripts, will be auto-created inside of Zephyr Enterprise for you. So for instance, if you have a Java runner, a Java class that's being executed, maybe that's running some Selenium, it'll auto-create a test case and place that into the test repository. It'll also place the executed version of that test case into the test case execution application. You can track and manage all of your automation runs directly from within Zephyr Enterprise. So you can see every single automation run that's been conducted externally from Zephyr, so via these CI/CD runs or through a triggering of an automation framework external, but the results are passed back into Zephyr. You can manage them directly within Zephyr Enterprise. And you can also view the corresponding results alongside all of your manual execution results in one single consolidated view. And the benefit of all of this is that you've got one central place where you can report. So you don't always need to rely on reporting within these different frameworks. You can just have a look at the reports in Zephyr. And again, you can place them onto the dashboard, share the dashboard URL so that others can see what happened. And also, like I said, because it's a HTML5 UI, you can always log into Zephyr as well and just learn what the run result or the build result was. Now, I've already gone through this point already, but I'll just reiterate the results from a semi-automated run using an automation agent, a fully automated run, for instance, from an external automation framework in-house built, or as in the case I'll show you, for example, TestComplete, or even a manual automation, a manual test case. The results of all of these are going to be in one central place where you can click through the charts and evaluate the underlying data. For instance, let's learn more about that failed test case. What actually happened? Which Java exception was thrown? Can I see the remote screenshot of what happened during that run? Also, you've got analytics as well. So when you've got all of this data in one place, the AI engine steps in and can help flag any predicted fails later on, even before the run happens. You can also leverage the DevOps dashboard to have a look at all of your testing activity along with quality and health information, for example, from SonarQube, your Jira and build and code repository information in one place. So let's check it out.
Excellent. All right, we'll pass it over to Milan now. So let's see if we can. I'm going to stop my sharing for a second.
Thank you.
And then you should be able to take over.
Absolutely.
This is the magic of modern marvels, because I am currently in our Somerville office and Milan is holed up in the middle of beautiful England right now, aren't you?
Absolutely. Indeed, I am.
It sounds like we're all in the same room.
We are. The wonders of technology. So I hope you can all see my screen. I'm showing you Zephyr Enterprise right now with the Vortex application selected on the left-hand side. Now, Vortex is an automation platform which works by using automation agents. You can install these on laptops, machines, servers, consolidated results locations, anywhere. And this can be a Linux-based installation for the agent or even a Windows-based one. So once you've installed that agent on a given machine, you can set up a job. And yes, you can trigger automation frameworks directly from here and list them all out and use the E button to trigger them. But I'm going to show you the folder watcher, which listens in on a given results location. In this case, it's looking at this particular results location, which is having results pumped in from a Jenkins build. So as the Jenkins build happens, it pushes the results into this particular location. And it's checking every 60 seconds whether there are some new results in this given folder. This is the location of that ZBot, the automation agent, and it's going to populate the test planning application with these details as soon as it finds some new results. So the idea being that you can have Jenkins to trigger any automation framework. You align with one of the parsers, for example, JUnit over here. And if your automation framework doesn't produce JUnit, you can select another one of the entries over here. And even if that does not align, no problem, because let's say your automation framework is delivering some JSON. You can add a post-build action to convert your JSON into JUnit and then use the parser selected over here. So we've set this job up. It's going to be listening in on this results location. There's no trigger because the trigger actually happens inside of Jenkins. So here is a job I've created. I'll jump inside of here and show you around. Now this job is going to be going first of all, right at the start of the job, I'm just keeping things tidy by minimizing the number of bills that it's showing. It's setting a parameter so it keeps the log files, and in the background also keeps the actual full JUnit report produced by TestComplete, not the JUnit style report. So definitely add this in, and that way it will keep the JUnit report. And then if you come down below, you'll see the trigger to TestComplete right here. It's triggering the entire suite. I'll show you the settings. So it's just running some a TestComplete script. It's running it on this particular machine. And then it's just running some post-build actions for me to push the results from the build location into a given folder that I want to listen in on. So we come back to the job. Let's go ahead and build it. Here we go. And it's going to open up TestComplete, and it's going to go into a given website and run some tests live for me. There will be quite a few passes along the way, and there'll be a couple of failures. Indeed, actually only one failure that'll be encountered. So it's going over to a store, selecting the most priciest of these earpods, taking the liberty of adding a couple, I think, in this situation. Oh my goodness, the basket's got 13. Wow. Oh my goodness, look at that subtotal. Right, so you see in the background, TestComplete's running. It's down at the bottom of the screen. And then once it's all over, TestComplete will auto shut down. So the entire suite will be completed. That's all good. We'll close that window, close this window. Let's have a look at the console just to see what's going on. So all is good. It's managed to execute. Everything's a success. Great. So we head back into Zephyr Enterprise. You see within the test repository that a new folder has been created showing you your test results. In test planning, there'll be an entry for the automation run, just shown over here. Indeed, also in the reports application, you'll be able to see the automation run details. You'll see it right now, it's empty, but it's in the process of being injected with the actual test results. So we'll see notifications appear. If we're on a given screen and changes need to be made to that given screen, that'll appear in the notification section. So it's just injecting the results in right now. So back to the planning application, see that it's got all of the results in there, and we go into test execution. And we can observe the automation results right here. So let's just open one of these out. There we go. So we see all of the execution results, all of the passes, and indeed a failure as well. Now, the results of this automation run can be viewed, like I said, in the live reports, but also there is a dashboards area where you can add the results of any automation run and have a sprint-oriented view with all of your manual, semi-automated, and fully automated test results in one single place. I'm just going to wait for this to load up, and then I'll show you around. In the meantime, if you need to learn more, head over to getzephyr.com/support. You can check out the online documentation there for Zephyr Enterprise, including automation. You can check out the Developer Zone too to learn about the APIs that we have available, and we have a series of YouTube videos available on our YouTube channel. So here are the dashboard widgets, loads of them showing a variety of automation results. You can see them published over here. Daily Pulse to show you test cases created, executed, and defects linked. And finally, actually on that point of defects linked, when we observe any test case execution failures, you can immediately click on a D button and file a defect against any test case execution failures you've observed. And of course, these defects go straight into Jira for you. And then you can come back into Zephyr and build a fully comprehensive traceability matrix as well. So with that, I'll hand over back to Greg.
All right. Thank you for walking us through that, Milan. So really, we are reaching the end of the webinar. This is the point where we are going to ask you guys if you have any questions for us. So at this point, please feel free to type in your questions. And in fact, we have one right now regarding the Zephyr integration. Milan, are we able to see a report on the step status on the dashboard?
Let's have a look.
All right.
What would you, so could we reiterate that? I would like to know if there is an automated way of updating each step result when corresponding automation script is executed. Yes, so there's a couple of ways of doing that. With particular automation results in Vortex, the parser brings over these details. So for example, it'll take feature file information and transpose them to steps. And in other situations, if the built-in parser within Vortex has no step information, it can't, because, for example, if Selenium hasn't got any step information, it can't, then it'll just update the overall test case execution status, in which case you can use the APIs to update the steps.
Excellent. And it looks like we're also getting a few questions about Vortex. Is it a plugin for Zephyr like Jira? Is there additional charges for it? So maybe you could give a quick high-level overview of what Vortex is again and how that works. Oh, we might not be able to hear you. Actually, I definitely can't hear you, so I'm not sure if my headphones cut out on that.
No, I'm just having a look. Are we looking at which question is this one? Perhaps.
Oh, we just had a couple questions like, is Vortex a plugin like Zephyr is for Jira, or
no, a Vortex
API, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so let's have a look at, Vortex is an application within Zephyr Enterprise. It'll appear there on the bottom left-hand side within Zephyr Enterprise itself. And then that enables you to trigger your automation frameworks directly from there. That's one of them. And then we have another one. We have Jira, Zephyr and TestComplete. Is there an additional charge for Vortex? So you have Jira. If you have Zephyr for Jira does not work on Vortex. In order to bring the test complete results over, you can leverage the Zappy APIs. In order to do that, you can also leverage the Zephyr for Jira Jenkins or Bamboo add-on. If you're using the Zephyr for Jira Jenkins add-on, which is better, you'll be able to, better in the sense that it's open source, so you'll be able to configure and tweak the data sent over. Now remember that all we need in this situation is a JUnit reporting parser, which the Jenkins and Bamboo add-ons are able to consume anyway. So that, the default capabilities of the Zephyr for Jira Bamboo or Jenkins parser should work.
Excellent. We have another question here. Actually, does this work headless if you were using test execute? For those of you not familiar, TestComplete does have a runtime only utility called test execute, which simply allows you to run your tests that have previously been created. And yep, it will work exactly the same way, so you won't have to worry about that. And that's the most common use case in a CI/CD pipeline is people will have test execute set up on all of their test runner machines, and Jenkins or their other CI/CD platforms will call out to test execute to run the information, and then of course pull that all back in, which can then be pushed into Jira. Just taking a look. It looks like we're getting a lot of questions today. So the reason we're having all these delays is because we're looking at all these questions, trying to figure out which ones we're able to answer here. Oh, and we also do have another poll. So as we're diving through these, you know what I'm going to do? We're going to launch our next poll as we're looking at this, because we just want to find out, while we're looking at these questions, do you want any more information on test automation or TestComplete specifically? We can absolutely help you out with that. So feel free to answer that while we continue looking at all of these questions. And the nice thing is predominantly people want to hear more information about this. So this is really good. Now, Milan, maybe you could help answer this one for me. The differences between Vortex to Selenium, are there any correlations there? Oh, are you still there?
Yep, I'm still here.
Okay, yeah. It's just, are there any differences between Vortex and Selenium? I'm not sure if there's any real correlation between those.
Yeah. No. So Vortex is an automation triggering capability, and you can run Selenium scripts directly from Vortex, or you can have a folder watcher in place which listens in on Selenium results. So you can trigger the Selenium scripts directly from Vortex within Zephyr Enterprise. Or, for instance, you can have Jenkins trigger your Selenium scripts, and then you take your workspace location or your results location and you set up a folder watcher for it.
Okay, excellent. Now we have another question of integrating Zephyr directly with TestComplete. So currently, the way we integrate is through the Vortex ability to slurp in all of that data so that it's inside Vortex for you. However, on our product roadmap going into 2019, we are going to be making sure that Zephyr integrates with the appropriate automation tools that we offer, like TestComplete and SoapUI. We want to make sure that our applications integrate in a way that makes sense for our users. We don't want to just provide everyone, hey, here is a platform that has all of our functionality. We want to make sure that it's right for you. So we're really taking a very thoughtful approach to how we want to integrate all of our tools into Zephyr to make sure that it is the best for all of our users. And this is another question. A lot of good questions about Vortex.
Really good ones.
Vortex really doesn't have any issue with pulling in other types of tools. One of the main question here is, hey, we have Ready API. Could we do a similar process and have Vortex in our JUnit stuff?
Absolutely. No problem at all, because, you know, as I've mentioned, the post condition is that you have to align with one of the inbuilt parsers that we have, and one of them is the JUnit reporting parser. Now, as you're aware, industry-wide, there is not really a standard for this is how a JUnit report should look, but generally speaking, JUnit reports are, there's a kind of common way of displaying a JUnit report, not a JUnit style report, but a JUnit report. And that's what we're using to parse the results back in. So if you can get your results into that format or any of the others listed as well, that works.
Oh, perfect. Now, we did have a similar question from several different people. We are definitely recording this webinar. So all of you attendees will get an email after follow-up with a link to the recording, which you'll be able to share with your colleagues, watch over and over again. I suspect a lot of people are going to be rewatching the portion where I read the splash screen with the comic book voice. I feel like that was my highlight for today.
It was my highlight too, Greg. You did a fantastic job. I've not heard you in that voice, but that's an amazing persona that was.
Yeah, I usually I do that when I'm reading stories to the kids before bed. That's where I really get.
That was our treat for the day.
But yeah, we have another good question actually. Hey, we have customers not into automation, but they want to run the tests on their own. Right now they're using Selenium to automate, but that makes it really difficult for the customers, maybe a non-technical user, to be able to pick and choose which tests they want to run and being able to execute them.
Yeah.
TestComplete actually can help with that. So TestComplete has the ability for you to pull in your Selenium tests, really just importing a file and then say, hey, which tests would you like to run? And that, as long as the test names are descriptive and you can tell people, hey, these are the tests that you'd want to run, it's really simple for them to click on an item and click the run button. They can go through individual test items or entire Selenium suites. So it's really, really easy to allow people. Again, TestComplete is designed for anyone brand new to testing. Maybe they've just started their first day as a tester and they want to start working on automation immediately. TestComplete allows them to do that, as well as the more sophisticated users who've been doing automation for a while. It allows them full flexibility. Now we are getting a question about AngularJS, specifically on Selenium, working with that. Now I'm not sure how well Selenium works. But
absolutely it does. So it really it doesn't matter which application or type of application you're testing using Selenium. Really doesn't matter. You could be testing mobile platforms. You could be testing an Angular JavaScript application. It could be a HTML5 application. It could be anything. But what really matters is, how do those end results look? How do those execution results look? Because what Zephyr does from a Vortex perspective is it looks at your report file and it takes the names of the test cases and the IDs, etc. And for instance, if it's eggplant, then it'll take a remote screenshot as well. If it's cucumber, it'll take the gherkin format as well. So it's taking as much of that data from the results file and then bringing it into Zephyr Enterprise and auto-creating the test cases. And I think that's also what Ramesh was asking as well about importing of existing test cases. If, Ramesh, you're not asking about importing existing automated test cases, then the manual automated test cases can be injected in using Excel spreadsheets, but also migration utilities as well. We've got a whole host of these, for instance, the HP ALM to Zephyr migration capability.
All right. And we did get several questions about Zephyr working with performance tools. So I'm assuming, again, you'd use Vortex to pull in all of those, or are there any direct integrations with performance tools in Zephyr?
Absolutely. We drink our own champagne here. JMeter scripts will produce JUnit reports and we can consume them. So again, you can trigger them from Zephyr, either semi-automated by using a ZBot and then putting in the command line execution path into an actual test case, or from a Vortex perspective, executing a bunch of JMeter scripts or performance or load testing scripts from Vortex. So for example, you'd have a bat file which gets triggered, and that bat file might trigger a whole host of scripts. And then it'll expect results in a given folder, and then it will consume them into the application. Or you can also set up a folder watcher for that whole process too. So for instance, you can have a Bamboo run, which is running some performance scripts, and then it's putting the results into the Bamboo plan folder. We set up a folder watcher on that Bamboo plan folder and then consume the results using the inbuilt parser.
Okay, excellent. And I think we got we're in a couple more questions here that we'll answer before we wrap up and let everyone go a little bit early today, get on with their morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you guys are in the world. But a couple questions here really are around, hey, how is TestComplete? How easy is it to use? You keep saying it's easy for a person brand new to testing. How actually easy is it? And one of the things that I would highly recommend is take it for a spin. At smartbear.com or testcomplete.com, you can go and download a full feature trial of TestComplete. It has every piece of functionality in it, the same way as if you owned the tool. It's just limited by time. And actually give it a go against your application. I love people to innately trust everything that I say because TestComplete is designed to be easy. It's designed where you click record, navigate through your application, and then when you have that, once you're done with that, you click play and it runs it back. And you can say, well, run it on different browsers, run it on different machines. Doesn't matter. It doesn't take any extra effort. But that's easy for me to say. We really want you to give it a go, download it, try it, and see how it works for your application. One of the other handy parts is our trials are all fully supported. So you can actually call us up and say, hey, I'm having difficulty getting started. We have a plethora of video tutorials, trainings, documentation available freely online without any login necessary. But we also have people you can call up and say, you know what, could you help me out? Could you help me figure this out and see if it is actually useful for me? Because TestComplete is a great tool, but it's not the perfect tool for every single application out there, and that's fine. But we can help you figure out if this is going to be a good asset for you and how to find the value in that. And I think we've got one final question here on, let's see. Oh, I'm trying to, no, it's already ones that I've asked. I was negligent in marking the questions as answered, so I realized that I'm reading questions over and over again. But actually, no, I think we've covered the vast majority of the questions. I guess, Milan, is there any final parting words that you'd like to say for our audience here today?
No, I think a lot of the questions have been answered. They're generally around whether X, Y, and Z tool can be integrated, and the answer is generally yes.
Excellent. And we will be going through these, so I will make sure that after the webinar, we go through and take a look and see if there were already questions that we missed, and we'll follow up with you. However, if you do have any other burning questions or you take a look at Zephyr or TestComplete and you'd like to get more information, please feel free to reach out. Give us a call, send us an email, download the tool, and talk to us in the live chat inside the product. Just get in contact with us. We are, majority of us are really friendly folk, and we really want to help you guys out because we're not here just for our own agenda. We're really trying to make sure that the world is getting the best possible testing done because we're trying to make sure that all of our software is better to use for our end users. So Milan, thank you for joining us today. I was really excited to see how TestComplete and Zephyr works together. And everyone, I hope you were able to get some good information out of this. But again, if you'd like some more follow-ups, please feel free to reach out. We're looking forward to hearing from you. And have a great day, everyone.